Okay, good evening. It is 5:45 and it is October 13th, 2020. I'm going to call our meeting to order. I'm going to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. And I'm going to welcome the color guard from Bayshore High School, the Bayshore High School JROTC, escorted by retired Lieutenant Colonel Antonio Vega, Cadet Major Joseph Bratcher, Cadet Second Lieutenant Corey Tangle, Cadet Second Lieutenant Antonio Reyes, and Cadet Staff Sergeant Emmanuel Estrada.
Colors, hope, race, and arms.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Colors, reverse, march. Forward, march.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. And Mr. Barber, come on down.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Saunders. I'm fortunate to have here Shelley Deichel. Shelley is a senior food nutrition services supervisor for our food and nutrition department. And we are happy to have her. And the reason Shelley is here tonight is because this week is National School Lunch Week. As proclaimed by the School Nutrition Association. The National School Lunch Program serves more than 30 million children every school day. And National School Lunch Week was created in 1962 to promote the importance of healthy school lunch in a child's life and the impact it has inside and outside the classroom. As you know, here in Manatee County, we are exceptionally proud of our food and nutrition department. Just to give you a little idea of the kind of work they do. During the past year, from March through May, during the time period when our schools were closed to on-campus learning, they distributed over 960,000 meals during that short time period. During the summer, they distributed another 570,000 meals. So during the time period from March 12th, 2020 to August 17th, 2020, our Food and Nutrition Department distributed over 1.5 million meals. And not only that, but at the beginning of this school year, they were delivering meals in 3 different ways because of the 3 modalities of instruction that we had. They were delivering meals, were served to students on campus. They were delivering after-school meals to hybrid students at curbside and to e-learning students on Mondays. So they are just a point of pride for the school district of Manatee County. And so we're happy to celebrate National School Lunch Week. And to say a little bit more, here's Shelley Deichel.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Messenger, board members, Ms. Saunders. Thank you for recognizing and celebrating National School Lunch Week with us. National School Lunch Week was created in 1962 by President John F. Kennedy, and this historic year, school lunch is more important than ever. Prior to COVID, 1 in 5 children in Florida were food insecure, and now 1 in 3 children are food insecure. Our entire food and nutrition services staff is committed to making sure that our students receive nutritious meals no matter how they receive their education. The good news is that meals are free for all students, regardless of income, through December 31st, 2020, and it is likely that the meals will remain free through the remainder of the school year. In closing, I would like to thank our food service workers, our cafeteria managers, and district office staff who have worked tirelessly since March 16th to provide meals not only in school, but throughout our community. And I thank all of you for your support.
Thank you.
Is he going to read the proclamation?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shelley.
One more thing before you go.
The reason you're here.
For the proclamation.
Proclamation. Proclamation for National School Lunch Week. Whereas the National School Lunch Program has served our nation admirably for more than 70 years through advanced practices in nutrition education. And whereas the National School Lunch Program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children. And whereas the National School Lunch Program has been joined through the years by many other excellent child feeding programs, and there is evidence of continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs. Now, therefore, the School Board of Manatee County and the Superintendent do hereby proclaim the week of October 12th through 16th, 2020 as National School Lunch Week. Be it further resolved that the School Board of Manatee County and the Superintendent do express their appreciation to all the school food service professionals who make the school lunch program work in our district schools, adopting with a quorum present and voting this 13th day of October, 2020. Thanks for representing the group tonight.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of you out
so
there.
much.
Thanks, Mike.
And now for another shining light of the school district of Manatee County. It's my pleasure to tell you that Manatee Technical College was recently ranked among the top 50 trade school programs in the nation, according to Learn.org. Learn.org is a website devoted to helping students achieve their academic and career goals. Hundreds of schools were considered for this recognition. However, MTC was singled out by Learn.org for some of the following reasons. MTC has the largest selection of career preparation programs in the state of Florida, with over 50 programs to select from. Many of the certificate, applied technology, and apprenticeship programs at MTC can be completed in less than a year, so students can begin working as soon as possible. And advisory councils comprised of businesses and industry leaders help develop curriculum so that no matter what program students choose, they can rest assured they're getting the training they need for success. And again, these were all reasons cited by Learn.org as to why MTC was voted the number 36 trade school in the nation and the only technical trade school recognized in the state of Florida. And here to say a little bit more is the director of MTC, Dr. Valerie Vines. Doctor?
Thank you, Mr. Barber, and thank you, Board, for the opportunity to come before you and just share a little bit about Manatee Technical College. But first, I would like to introduce Dr. Paul Gansimer, the Executive Director of Adult Career and Technical Education, and I would like to thank him and recognize him for his support as well. As Mr. Barber said, the MTC was recognized for the variety of career and technical programs that are offered at our school, and we were the only school recognized in the state of Florida. So we were very honored with that, and we are excited to be able to provide such a great number of opportunities for our community members here in Manatee County. Some of the criteria that was used was from the database of the U.S. Department of Education, and some of those also included our tuition costs, which were very competitive, our acceptance rate into our college, the graduation rates, and what we're really most proud of and what's most important is that those students receive jobs in our community and make our community a great place to live. So thank you again. I appreciate your support.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barber. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda amendments. The chair has found good cause to amend the agenda to include all items listed under agenda amendments on the October 13, 2020 agenda, updated October 12, 2020, and posted to the district manateeschools.net. Do I have a motion?
So moved by Minor.
Got a motion and a second. If you can hit your button, that would be appreciated. Okay, well, we'll get there. We'll do a voice vote. Oh, there you go. You got it. Oh, nope, that was Dr. Hopes.
The one without the picture, where did my picture go?
I don't know, but we know you're here. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will just do a voice vote. All those in favor of the agenda as it has been amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. We'll move forward to reports and presentations. The first one is the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards report. As you guys know, that's I sit on that consortium for us representing Manatee County. I just wanted to give a really quick update. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and what really came out of that was hearing how each county has kind of taken to reopening, and it was really right after Miami-Dade had that marathon of a meeting. It was Miami-Dade. I think we talked about that. And so it really was very interesting to hear how each county is doing it. I think Collier County is very similar to ours, but there are a variety of ways that the counties have approached it. I really think that what I got out is that we're in a really great place with our doc, and the support that we've gotten from our health department is unlike what I'm getting from a lot of other counties, what I'm hearing. And so I really think that that's very unique and should really be praised, that the health department has been working so closely hand in hand. And we've got some excellent staff that we might lose to become epidemiologists. So, you know, I think that really is one of the things that I shared at that meeting that I think really does set us apart. And one of the other things that was talked about was we have given a preliminary legislative goals. They are creating theirs, and one of the things that this consortium likes to do before they move forward with theirs is each board has to approve the consortium's legislative platform before they move forward with it. So that will be something that the consortium is meeting on Friday, and when we have that, I will bring it forward to the board, just so everyone's on the lookout for that. One of the other things that we discussed was about the CARES Act money and talking to the state about ways that we can use the CARES Act money, because it's allowed for certain things but not other things, and we're finding that there are gaps in what it's paying for and what we're really using it on. For instance, we can buy supplies, but you can't necessarily pay for the personnel, but we really need to pay the personnel, or we really need additional personnel, and there seems to be gaps in what it covers and what it doesn't cover, and that was one of the things that we had discussed. And I think, I'm looking through my notes. The final thing that we had talked about, and I know that we've talked about as a board, and we added it to our legislative platform, was the hold harmless portion of the executive order, and requesting that the legislature extend that through, or the governor extend that through the rest of the school year. Whether they will or they won't, that's something that I think the consortium is going to push for, and it certainly seems worthwhile. But that's really my update, and look forward in the coming month, I would assume, the legislative platform from the consortium that we can take a vote on. And with that, I will move on to Mr. Minor with the FSBA teleconference meetings report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. That was an excellent report of what's going on with the consortium. I think the highlight of our last meeting was talking about a new app that is pursuant to Alyssa's law. Was one of the children lost during the events down there in Broward County, and the legislature has set aside $7.52 million in the budget for purchasing these buttons that would be used if an attacker comes into any school district building. I talked with Pat Bartholomew about this, and we're supposed to have this in place by the start of the school year, and I'm convinced that we're on top of the requirements of this legislation, and we're going forward. So that's, I think, really good news. The other thing, tomorrow I have a Florida School Board Association advocacy meeting. It's going to be Zoom, so I don't have to go up to Tallahassee, but that's kind of the highlights of what's going on with the FSBA quite a bit. Going on with that group and gives me something to do in all my spare time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I'll move forward with the video for strategic plan. Mr. Chapman, our resident epidemiologist in training.
Well, yes, in training.
In training, I said in training.
Yes. So Kevin Chapman, Director of Strategic Planning and District Initiatives. What I'm about to show you is our second video in a series called Strategic Plan and Action. And it's a showcase video series to illustrate how the new strategic plan affects employees, students, families in the community, and it's kind of a video way to show of all the things that we are doing, we're about to do, and how that is part of the new strategic plan and is going to continue the great success we're having here at the school district. So this video is to highlight Hispanic Heritage Month and mention a lot of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that's in the new strategic plan, and also our new core values of celebrating celebrating and supporting each other, and also highlighting our diverse community that we serve here in the school district. So if we're ready, let's play this video that was just sent to all employees and the community today. Hi, I'm Kevin Chapman, Director of Strategic Planning and District Initiatives for the School District of Manatee County. In my last video, I mentioned how I was going to illustrate how the new strategic plan affects you. This month is Hispanic Heritage Month, and as a school district, it is vital that we celebrate and respect our cultural differences. Our diversity is what makes us stronger. Este es el plan estratégico en acción, which means this is the strategic plan in action. Students who identify as Hispanic make up about 34% of our student population, and about 11% of our employees identify as Hispanic. We have a rich and diverse school district and community, and it is important we celebrate and honor the cultures we share. I went to San Jose Elementary School and asked our ESOL staff and students what Hispanic Heritage Month meant to them. And here is what they said.
My Hispanic heritage begins with me proudly being Mexican American. I can speak 2 languages, English and Spanish. We love our food, music, and family, and we are grateful for what we accomplish and have.
For me, it means the opportunity to be able to celebrate our Hispanic leaders and their contributions that they have made, not only in our community, but in our country. Being that I am Cuban American, I am thankful for my grandparents and for my parents to give me the opportunity for a better life here in America.
We are grateful to all our ESOL, migrant, and dual language staff for their hard work and dedication every day to help our students achieve success. Next, I went out and asked one of our Hispanic school district leaders, what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you?
Hispanic Heritage Month means to me a time to remember the reason why we're in this country, freedom, opportunity. My parents used to always remind me of why we came to this country, but it's also a celebration of the many contributions that Hispanics, as a result of this country giving us the opportunity, have added to this wonderful country.
Our new strategic plan is dedicated to building and maintaining a diverse and talented workforce that provides our students with the best opportunities for success in and out of the classroom. It also focuses on improving our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across the district. Together, let's celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and recognize that our diversity is what makes us stronger.
So, en este mes, donde se celebra la gran contribución de los hispanos a este país de los Estados Unidos, vamos todos a celebrar juntos el éxito de nosotros los hispanos en los Estados Unidos de América.
Hey, Lourdes.
So that video was done also in Spanish, and it was sent out on our new Spanish Facebook page and all our Spanish social media. So trying to communicate more to our Hispanic community here in Manatee County and highlight and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, which really runs from September 15th to October 15th. So I didn't know that was a month, a month and a half a month, but that's how we do it. So, wanted to put that on this board's agenda for you all to see. And then probably every 2 weeks we'll come out with a new strategic plan and action video to kind of highlight how the strategic plan is being incorporated into what we do here in the school district. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.
Okay, we will move forward to approval of the minutes. Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on September 22nd, 2020, and our special meeting September 29th, 2020.
Minor moves to approve.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't have a button, so that might,
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay. We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. We will move forward to the consent agenda. Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend the approval of the consent agenda for October 13th, 2020.
So move.
Got a motion
Second?
and a second.
Madam Chair, we have a public
I was
comment.
going to say, and we have public comment. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right, Mr. Gibolina? Oh, there it is.
You got your computer back? I was trying to unsecond it for you, but it won't.
All good.
Okay.
It's all yours.
So is this on the consent agenda, correct?
Yes, sir.
Not on the action item?
Correct. That's coming up later. Yep.
Okay. I do want to, do have some questions. Well, first of all, on the consent agenda, on contracting grants number 14, the school board MTC and the jail. I can't speak highly enough of that program. I think it needs to be expanded. I think whatever we need to do with the inmates that come close to graduation or to give them the opportunity to enroll in MTC to finish that certificate. I've been out there dozens of times, and I can tell you the frustration that some of these inmates have that fall short of completing their certification for welding or horticulture, and they don't have an opportunity to finish that. So I think the board should consider moving that. Doug and I talked about it a little bit, so hopefully that'll move forward. But they do an outstanding job out there. The teachers are very dedicated. Horticulture is off the chain. You provide a lot of food there. And the other one I want to talk about is the food service, number 26, $651,000 for fresh fruit and vegetables. Outstanding. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can double that in the future. So that's about it on the consent. And then we have general public comment, right? And action, right?
Yeah, Glenn, I've got you just one more, two more times.
Okay.
General public comment and then the action item itself.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Madam Chair, that's it for the consent agenda.
Okay. We've had a motion and a second. Since we're somewhat computerless, I'll do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I am a yes vote. Can I just say one thing, which
It was poor timing.
It was really bad timing. I just got distracted by the agenda. But I just wanted to close the circle because last time our diversity and inclusion committee was here, I congratulated Latrina Singleton on the job that she did not quite have yet. But with this approval, she now has it. So Latrina, if you are out there and listening, congratulations finally on officially being our new Director of Title I and Federal Programs. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Just wanted to take my foot out of my mouth from a few weeks ago and put it back on the floor. Thanks.
Okay. We will move forward to new business. Item number 1. Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend the approval of the budget amendments for July and August 2020.
So moved.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing. Sorry, you're not allowed to ask that question, I guess.
Madam Superintendent, just, just to make sure, I know you and I had discussed this and all the accounts have been timely reconciled. Just want to make sure that was the case, since I don't see a notation on it that it's not reconciled.
Yeah, it'll be on the next.
Oh, okay, we're just doing this one, okay.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion on the budget amendments? Okay, hearing none, we will vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. We will move forward to item number 2, approval of the year-to-date financial statements through August 31st, 2020. Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend the approval of the year-to-date financial statements through August 31st, 2020.
So moved. Second. Second.
We've got a motion and a second. We have public comment.
Mr. Nelson?
While she's passing it out, I know this is the document you're talking about approving, and I think this is false, the entire document, just like the budget is. He overstated the budget by 50 million, and here you show this as the beginning numbers all throughout the rest of the year. One of the things I did to have an order to ask goodbye with 3 minutes. I gave you an index, a sheet index, and page numbers of what I'm trying to accomplish. If I don't get done to talk about it, you can look at it and read it. But if you turn to page 1, that's the key to this whole presentation and my coming here. This is a copy of page 2 from this document. If you look at the yellow at the bottom, it outlines other financing sources. It says total other financing sources. I'd like you to read that. And see my little orange sticker there? It shows transfers in, transfers out. How much revenue does that generate for the 2 months? None. And that's true for every month that you publish that. It's true for every month you publish that. You say, transfers do not generate revenue. And that's why you got the orange sticker on there. And then the next page you want to look at is number 2. And these are budget numbers taken right off this sheet here. It shows why you exaggerate the money. But because you don't treat that as empty, it doesn't cause an effect. Because the page 1 to 25 are the same numbers as 26 and 48. The only difference is you do not show where the money comes from. And you give you the false number of 879 million. Only part of the transfers. You only list the money transferred to. Where in the hell do you get the money? If you look at the bottom half, you see where you get the money. If you're telling the truth, you got it out of the capital fund. And then your budget is actually 828 million. That's the truth. Now, further proof of that, I think that's, I'm on page page 5. Page 5 is the same document I gave you. September 8th. It shows the budget. If you added the line in this document that shows revenue after transfers and revenue before, that's the same. It doesn't affect revenue. Because you have only an $828 million budget. Have you fine reading? You know, you gotta vote on this. Your integrity of you 5 people are on the line. If you approve this, you're telling a falsehood.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. That's only comment on this item, Madam Chair.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Reverend Golden?
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes, sir.
Is there any accounting rule that prohibits us from describing revenues or amplifying revenue to include the word source? In other words, instead of having the general, what is it, the page where we talk about interfund transfers, while they may not generate district revenue, they are revenue sources for the district. Is that a fair statement?
Excuse me, the real issue, I'll use an example that I've used before, is we have in capital out, well, let's say our debt service fund does not have the ability to generate its own revenue.
I understand.
Okay, so, but we're required to pay the principal and interest on outstanding debt in the debt service fund.
Yes,
So if we did not have a mechanism to get resources in to cover those principal and interest payments, sorry, my mask is not cooperating. If we didn't have a vehicle, a mechanism to get those funds in there, the debt service fund would show a deficit. So we have the tax levying capability and capital outlay. That's where we collect the taxes.
You're missing my point. I'm asking you, is there anything that stops us from describing these sources of revenues, which are not generated, but they are simply revenue sources? They come as an accounting entry. That's all I'm asking.
We're accounting for everything as we're required to do and are supposed to do, and I shared with Mr. Nelson the GASB pronouncement that supports the accounting for that.
And the accounting terminology that you're using is acceptable accounting terminology.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Hopes?
I'll try to be a little succinct. Mr. Bergeron, are these financial reports in compliance with the Department of Education requirements and the State Auditor General requirements?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do these reports satisfy our independent financial auditors?
Yes, sir. I mean, these have not been audited, but this format has been audited, certainly.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And we've also added an element to the financials, and that is the certification of the monthly bank
I
reconciliation.
saw that. Thank you.
Continuous improvement. Thank you.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll move forward to item number 3, approval of the agreement to purchase property from Haval Farms LLC in North River Ranch Development in Parish not to exceed $2.5 million. Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend the approval of the agreement to purchase property from Havel Farms LLC and North River Ranch Development in Parish not to exceed $2,500,000.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I don't have my computer, but I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. I see that we have public comment.
We do. We have 3 public comments listed. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry. Mr. Gibolino, you can go first. Actually, you are listed first. I shouldn't say you can go first.
For the record, Glenn Gibolina, this is a bad deal. This is a bad deal for the citizens. I want to put this on the overhead. Norm, can you see that all right? Great, thank you. So I watched this planning commission. I sent you all an email. Mr. Penley did an outstanding job. Unfortunately, he was outgunned and outmaneuvered by Neil's attorneys. The board needs to set a policy that no school will be built without affordable housing. All your entry-level teachers at this school are going to have to drive there. I don't know what we're missing, but if you want to keep retention of your employees, you have to give them affordable housing. You have the leverage. This property, this 30 acres within the community, doesn't benefit the other citizens. It benefits Neil's citizens. This is a bad deal. They should be donating that land. I think we had talked about that at one time. And they want that school more than you do. I think you need to pull this off the agenda, go back and renegotiate with with Pat Neal. And by the way, I talked to John right before I got here. He's got COVID, so he couldn't make it. But we need to be moving in the right direction for affordable housing for your students. I did a shout out to Misty and asked her if the school board, if in fact you do go through with this, if you could have put affordable housing somewhere on the 30 acres. It's done all over the country. You leave your entry-level service workers, cafeteria workers, entry-level school teachers, custodians, bus drivers, you leave them out to hang with no affordable housing options in that community. You have the leverage. You could go back to Neil and say, you know what, we're not interested. By the way, give us the $2.5 million in impact fees that we're going to get, that he's going to apply towards the purchase price, and go find another piece of property, maybe between other developments that are going out there to benefit the other developments other than Havel Ranch. I mean, I can't make this any clearer. I've sent you my information, the thoughts on it. Penley did a great job, but you guys started at, the school can get an appraiser and we'll get one and that's what you're paying. No, the school should say, we don't want to pay anything. Or maybe we'll pay half, or maybe we'll pay 10%. Or maybe you should donate us 100 lots out of the 3,200. That's 1/3 of 1%. You think that would kill them? But those 100 lots would make a difference to entry-level workers that are going to be required to facilitate that school. The citizens are getting screwed on this deal. You should pull it.
Okay, next up, Patrick Neal. Oh, okay. Ivory Matthews, come on down. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ivory Matthews. I work with Neal Communities. First, I'd like to say we are home builders and we have a huge interest in our community, and that's Manatee County and Sarasota County. We work directly with our communities. We try to do as much future land planning as possible. We want to try to plan for infrastructure. We try to plan for schools. And in this case, actually the school district came to us and said, you have this large community out there. Is there an opportunity for a school site? And we went back and forth for over, I want to say, the last few months as to where the school site was going to be. And your staff was wonderful. We worked with Mike Penley, we worked with Amy Anderson. And after, different draft site plans, we came up with this plan, and we think it's good for the district. We think it's good for the students out in Parrish. We haven't been successful in planning for where the kids are going to be, and I think with the vision that the school district has right now, that future planning, especially infrastructure and roads and access. That's very important to your schools. And I think that you guys should consider approving this. Thank you.
Sure, let me just double check. Yeah, that was the final comment.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Is there any board discussion?
Yes.
I'm going to give Dr. Hopes since he made the motion, I'm going to start with Dr. Hopes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me get back to my screen. I just wanted Mr. Gibolino to note that I read his emails. I too spoke with John Neal, and there are a couple of issues here, but I think the representative from Neal Communities put it clearly that we're trying to get ahead of the game with this transaction, and in identifying, we know that we're going to be in need of a middle school in the not too distant future. And I think this gave us an opportunity to look at property that's in an ideal location and not only on already planned development, but more importantly, to ensure that the site is clearly designated. The studies that we did to look at the cost of inflation in our construction projects found that the cost of land in Manatee County is appreciating. The cost is rising at 10% per year. And I know Mr. Jim Melita made a comment regarding the price of the land. The price of the land is not set. This contract calls for the school district to get a valuation done. It calls for the seller to get a valuation done. And then we negotiate what the price is. If we don't like the price, we walk from the deal. Mr. Jim Molina, I know in one of his correspondence referred to the $63,000 an acre or whatever. This property is in an already planned development that's covered under infrastructure bonds and et cetera. And so the number of lots that are being moved into this site is 78 lots. And so even if we were to purchase this property at the maximum amount that this motion calls for, that would be a per lot equivalent of a little under $29,000 a lot. I looked at the development across the street from the Parish Community High School, and in those homes that have been built, the property appraiser has those lots valued at $35,000 a piece. So even if we were to pay the maximum amount, we're actually getting it for less than what these individual lots are probably going to be sold for and appraised for by the property appraiser. And the property appraiser is not appraising them at 100% either. So I like the idea. I commend the superintendent for getting ahead of this. As you probably have heard in the news, single-family homes are selling like crazy. People are moving out of high-density apartments and condos because of the whole COVID thing. There is a shortage of homes on the market. I think this area is going to build a lot quicker than areas have in the past because of the market trends. And I like the idea that we, as well as people who are moving in there, are going to know where these schools are going to be built. So I ask your support. Thank you.
Okay, Reverend Golden?
I didn't have an objection. I have a question. We own a piece of property, or they own a piece of property that we're trying to buy. Where, if it's zoned for the kinds of homes that they are wanting to put on the property near the school that we're going to put out there, what is our role in saying, but you must build affordable housing on this? How does that work? Is that a legal question? I don't know. Just trying to figure out how. Say again?
Mr. Kennedy feels as if he can answer that question.
Okay.
Not with any kind of expertise, but Mr. Gibolino and I both sit currently on the Manatee County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, which is an advisory committee to the Board of County Commission.
Okay.
And topics like this have come up. This is my first time serving on that committee. But that would be to require affordable housing to be built in a planned community like that, that doesn't come through the school board. That would have to be mandated by the Board of County Commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy, I know you had something else you wanted to add.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, if you were done, Reverend Golden.
Yeah, we have a request that came to us to demand that affordable housing be a part of this contract that we're about to execute to purchase land to put a school on. And I'm missing how that is something that is within the purview of the jurisdiction of the school board. So my question was answered. This is something that would properly go before the county commission. Well, now I do have another question. Is there no appetite to even ask for that? I mean, since you're, okay, maybe you can answer that too. Since you're on that advisory council and you sit on the school board, would you not be the person that would bring this up and make an issue of affordable housing near our schools? Would that be the proper mechanism?
Sure, man.
Okay.
Essentially, yes, but I am just one member of the committee, and I'm really there as a resident of Manatee County, not necessarily as a school board member, but I certainly bring that hat with me. But what that committee does is we make annually, Glenn, is it annually or every 2 years? Annually, okay, thank you. So annually, that committee makes recommendations to the Board of County Commission on how they can change the land development code and all those supporting documents for development in the county to include provisions that would make it more efficient, cheaper, for lack of a better term, and with less regulation than is now. So, yeah, I mean, I can certainly bring it. There's not just Glenn, there's plenty of other advocates that would love to see these same ideas put forward.
Mr. Vice Chair, I hear what you're saying, but the only one on that advisory council that sits on this board is you.
Sure, sure.
And so if this board is going to speak, I'm assuming that we're going to speak through you. I just found out tonight, right now, that we have a representative on a board at the county commission that both you and Mr. Gibellina sit on, that has more of an opportunity to address affordable housing, which we all agree is not something that's within the purview of the school board. So if we have if we have a voice, I guess the real question that I'm asking is there any objection to this voice being raised in support of affordable housing near schools that we know we're going to build? And I don't hear that. I don't hear anybody up here saying we are not going to do that or we are opposing that. I don't see, and I just don't see how that is a part of the contract for land. But I would fully expect that since we do have one of our members, the vice chair, on the board of the advisory council for housing in the county, that would be our voice and that we formally accept that. I know he's there personally, he says, but since he's there and he's a member of this board, let's put him to work.
Real quick. Yeah, and Reverend Golden, I'm happy to do that. Hearing no objections from anybody, I'm happy to bring that forward. And then if the full committee wants to include that in the statutorily required list of recommendations from the committee, I'm sure, knowing the advocates on that board, I'm sure we could get that included on the final
That's
list.
fine, but we have.
I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, I know we don't control them. We just sit up here. So, all right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there anything further you wanted to
Yeah,
add?
just real quick. Thanks, Madam Chair. Mr. Gibellina, I just want to thank you for the advocacy. I know there's so much kind of home builder and developer fatigue in the county that sometimes you just look at the agenda and it's like, oh, 2.5 million, here we go again. But over the past week, as we dug into details and there was communication back and forth, as Dr. Hopes has already alluded to, I think personally, I think this is a solid deal. It's good for the school district. I think it's good for the taxpayers. If there's any problems, we'll find out, and then the deal will collapse. But I am going to vote for it. But Glenn, I do appreciate your continued advocacy on a lot of stuff, not just housing and not just horticulture and schools, but everything you're involved in. So please keep it up. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, Reverend Wilder.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I'm looking at a recommendation that says not to exceed $2.5 million, not $2.5 million. There's a big difference. So I want, Superintendent, is your recommendation? What are we agreeing to pay with this recommendation?
Well, that is the maximum price. As stated, we are going to get an appraisal, and based on 2 appraisals, the final price will come in. So, but that is the maximum price that we are willing to pay for that has been agreed upon, if the board approves it.
So what we're doing here tonight is simply saying, take the next step.
Yeah.
All right. And the next step is not to go back and write a $2.5 million check.
It's after some tests and appraisals are done. If all of the preliminaries come back acceptable, then we will actually purchase the property.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Minor?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I was trying to get in line to speak, and it ended up being my seconding the motion, where in fact it was Mr. Kennedy. And if our clerks could correct that, I would, for accuracy for the record, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. It's still up there. See what I'm talking about? It has me as seconding Mr. Hopes's, or Dr. Hopes's.
Mr. Minor, we'll make sure it's correct for the record.
Okay. Thank you. I have, a question for legal counsel, and if they could address it. There have been statements made in the community that, suggest that it would be improper for a board member who has a campaign that received some funds, from directly or indirectly from a developer to vote concerning a matter that came up before this board, to buy or to sell the property. Now, I've always been told that absent a legal or ethical conflict that's defined in the statutes and the rules, that board members are required to vote. Yes or no? They're for it or against it. And it's okay, it'd be unethical for that board member not to vote. They can't say, well, some people want me to vote yes, some people vote no, so I'm not going to vote. That is unethical, as far as I'm understand. Am I correct? Okay, can you? Yes. Okay, well, thank you. And the fact that a contribution, from a developer has been made to a campaign does not make it unethical for a board member to vote on a matter that's properly brought before the board. Am I correct about that?
Well, I'm going to change your wording a little bit, but yes, you're correct.
Okay.
As a member of the board, you are obligated to vote unless there is a voting conflict.
Okay.
There is, and the statute says that you may not vote on something in which you will achieve a special private purpose, private benefit, or in which there is some sort of an agreement between you and someone else that in exchange for that contribution, you have agreed to vote in a certain way.
Okay.
So, and there is ethics opinions going back to 1975, where specifically voting on a matter that was brought before a board where one of the persons who will receive a benefit have made a campaign contribution. So again, I don't know that ethical or versus unethical, but you are obligated to vote unless there is a conflict, and there is attorney general, ethics opinions that says that receiving a contribution does not create a voting conflict. I believe Mr. Teitelbaum has also done some additional research and has some thoughts.
Okay. I'd like to hear his thoughts as well.
Mr. Minor, this is a common issue for the attorneys.
Can you go to the?
Yes, Superintendent. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Minor, this is a common issue that's raised on the listserv for the Florida School Board Attorney Association. And first of all, it's not a voting conflict. In addition, it's also not a violation of the gift statute for sitting board members. And I agree with Mr. Pratt that there are ethics opinions. I've had the opportunity in the past to speak with Gray Schaefer from the Ethics Commission on this matter. He was kind enough to point me to a 1978 opinion, which basically says an individual can make a campaign contribution on a matter which will come before the board. It does not show you have an existing or an ongoing relationship just because a campaign contribution was made. In this particular instance, there is even more than that. In situations where someone makes a campaign contribution, such as you alluded to, this would be a situation of even less.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
What I hear from both of you is consistent with what I've heard from other attorneys, including Morgan Bentley, who is former chairman of the Ethics Commission, that there is not a ethical or legal conflict, for a board member to vote. In fact, it's just the opposite. If you don't vote, you have a problem with the law and the ethics. And people who suggest otherwise are suggesting that a board member should basically violate the law and the ethics by trying to avoid it by not voting. So thank you very much. Appreciate the guidance.
Okay, everyone's had their turn to go around. I'm just going to reiterate that what Dr. Host has said. I think there's a lot of really good, and the superintendent, I think there's many provisions in this contract that I think are very favorable to the school district. I don't know if everyone is really aware, but Buffalo Creek actually technically has a Palmetto address. Now, I know they serve Parish, but it's actually technically in Palmetto. It serves, I would say it's the Palmetto Ellington Parish. It's all right there. But so this would actually bring the first middle school to Parish. And so I think that's a really big win for the community of Parish. It's really a great location because it's going to be right off of Fort Hamer, which is really getting extended out there. And that my understanding is that Fort Hamer will eventually go up towards 75. So this is a great location for the community. It's a great location for our school so that there's a lot of access for our families. So I really do think this is a good placement. So I support it. And we talked about affordable housing. That's something that I talked to Bradenton City Council members on. I talked to county commissioners about it. Any way we can hammer that home, we need workforce housing. I think people shy away from the words affordable housing. They think there's different connotations in their head. But if you say workforce housing, I think that's what we should be striving for. So any way you can push that.
We will change the name of the committee at the next meeting.
I just think there are connotations that people have that they probably shouldn't have, but they do. And so to me, I've heard people say workforce housing. I think that's probably more appropriate for what I would love to see happen more in our community. And I think that this community, from my understanding, starts in the low 200s. I think right now Manatee County is sitting at the average home is 250 to 300. So I think this actually will serve a lot of our teachers being able to live there. So I really think that this is a win overall for the community, and I support it.
All right.
Yes.
If you don't mind, Mr. Neal has arrived, and he did sign up for public comment, and I was hopeful, since his business is being thrown around the room, we would let him come up and have an opportunity to speak, which he did sign up for. So, Mr. Neal?
Madam Chair, I think it's going pretty good.
Mr. Neal, if you could do two things. Come up here, and please leave your mask on as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Pat Neal. I think the best thing I heard is what you said. We do plan to build townhomes in this community, right about $200,000. I've talked with Glenn many years on the affordable housing matter, and I think we'll accomplish his goals, and I think we'll accomplish the school district's goals with this school. After all, one of the things that our company's done for the last 51 years is built homes for retirees, Madam Chair, but this community, North River Ranch, is a community for kids and families, and they need to have every chance to have a good education, good recreation, good parks and open space. access to the, and mom and dad need to have access to jobs in I-75. So we'd like you to go forth, approve this. As Reverend Golden said, this is just the beginning of a process, a well-established process that began March 26th, 2019, when Mr. Pendley asked us to do this, and we've worked with your board and with your professional administrator since then. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Can I just have one other word?
Mr. Minor?
Okay, the prior discussion established that it's legal and ethical for me to vote on this, and I am also going to vote in favor of this. And I appreciated the statements by my colleagues about how this is a good deal for everybody in Manatee County. And this is a lot of work has gone into this, and I think it's to move forward with it is the best deal for everybody. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, there has been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, we will move forward to public comment. And Vice Chair Kennedy, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have, how's that computer situation?
No, I've got a printout, thanks.
You've got a list,
I've got
okay.
a printout ready to go. So, Mr. Nelson, you're first up.
Okay.
Before I give you my final comments, I'm going to refer back to, I didn't have a chance to talk to. If you sort of look at my page 3, it's your results for last year. And if you notice on line 23, you said you needed $850 million worth of revenue. And when you published it in June, how much did you get? 805. You only missed it by $44 million. That's because you overestimated it. And if you look back at every year before this, the same thing, you're negative. The other thing is, Gina, I'm sorry, but I'm going to use that word again. Lies. There's $300 million I think you overestimated as, and I've proven that to you. But if you remember Ronald Reagan, I used to be a Republican. I've been an independent for 20 years. But during our Russian escapade, he says, trust, but verify. I don't necessarily distrust you, but I want another opinion, not just somebody's voices. I want something predictive on paper. So I sent a packet to the Chief Inspector General with all this data and asking me, are you handling this correctly? So I hope to hear from her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Next up, Dina Sabo. I was going to say, I thought I saw her earlier. That's okay. We'll come back to her when she comes back in. Next up, David Bullock. Mr. Bullock. Okay, keep going. Ben Hooker. Mr. Hooker, come on now. So you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you, Board, Madam Chairman. I personally do not feel that the hybrid or remote model is working well in its current implementation for our schools. Our teachers are balancing in-person and remote learnings at this time. This is extremely taxing on our teachers. For many kids, working at home is stressful, discouraging, isolating, and unproductive. The lessons at no fault of the teachers are asynchronous, completion-based tasks that don't even come close to the quality of in-person instruction that our teachers do so well. To put it simply, e-learning kids are not getting the same high-quality instruction that in-person attendees are receiving. I lose sleep at night because I know that if this continues much longer, this will ultimately leave huge gaps in our kids' learning. Most are okay with partial school or distance learning in the beginning of the school year when so much was unknown about the virus. I feel that most would agree that these hybrid models of instruction should be an emergency measure used only when absolutely necessary. At this point, considering the state of the virus in our communities, I do not think the negative side effects of partial schooling are worth it. Educators feel that it's nearly impossible for children to make more than a year's growth in a year's time. This means that our kids who do not get a year's worth of opportunities will likely never recover that learning. These are not easy setbacks to recover from. I believe that the state of the pandemic in our community we need to be very serious in order to make the decision to sacrifice our shared mission of providing our kids a consistent, high-quality education. The barriers and challenges to an in-person instruction are certainly real, and they're not likely to vanish until this virus is checked. The thing is, we don't know when or if this will happen in totality. If we ever get back to real school full-time, if we want to get back to real school full-time, we must start to plan ways in which we can safely overcome these barriers now. Least restrictive environment is a term used in special education to ensure that students with disabilities taught alongside peers without disabilities to the maximum extent possible. This helps to ensure that a student's day is as least constrained as possible, despite what might be easiest for adults, budgets, schedules, etc. I believe we have a responsibility to apply this logic to all of our students. To this end, I call for an end to making the mask wearing mandatory. There is adequate data easily found from reputable leading health institutions that clearly state the lack of effectiveness of the mask. Many people have limited or withheld their children from going to in-person instruction because of the mask mandate that this group has put in place and continue to enforce without clearly published or easily accessible guidelines or associated disciplinary matrix. Now we have children being suspended, isolated, removed from their schools for policy that is tyrannical. If you feel masks work, then you should be able to wear one and feel safer for it. If they don't work, then nobody should be forced to wear one. To force this on our children in our schools or our citizens in meetings like these is unfounded and un-American. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria Hooker? Sorry. No, okay, thank you. Mr. Gibolina.
Okay, 3 minutes to get out of here. So, for the record, new 2020 Sunshine Law. I suggest you get it, take a look at it. I'm going to bring some clarity to the affordable housing for Mr. Golden here. It's up to the...
That's Reverend Golden.
I'm sorry, Reverend Golden.
That's quite all right.
There's
I wouldn't have
plenty-
said anything if that wasn't the first time you'd done it.
Okay.
But it's okay.
I apologize. To bring you up to speed, the county waves a lot of carrots in front of these developers. They waive all the impact fees. They give them higher density. Fact of the matter is the developers don't make enough money on affordable housing. So we're never going to see it. That's the true fact of that. The other thing I want to bring up is the last time we were here, I need some clarity on what the limit is for the 3 minutes, because at the last meeting, the last gal that spoke went, because she, said she had a group to speak for, went well over the five-minute mark. So I'd like some clarity on that, because as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Nelson is representing 400,000 citizens. The other thing is the solar policy. Have we gotten any direction in that? For more clarity on the CARES Act, I suggest you watch the Board of County Commissioners meeting this afternoon. Jan Stewart did an excellent job of the CARES Act. So if you have any questions, go to the board, because they know what they're talking about. So clarity on that. The other thing is, where are we on the, is anything running? Oh, I know what to talk about, the Jessica Act. So you think you're protected by the Jessica Act. This is for vendors at schools. So you cannot keep the public from coming in here, and that's just the way it is. If you have them wake out in the parking lot, you are breaking the law. You are conducting your meeting in the shade, and there's going to be consequences for that. So the next time you say, go wait outside, and that public person, that citizen cannot hear you or view this meeting, absolute violation of the Sunshine Laws. So you put out notice on that. I've all written you my feelings on that, and we're going to hear it. We're here to enforce it. Budget cost overruns. I haven't forgot about PeopleSoft. I'm kind of wondering where we are with that. Have we finally settled that? Are there any cost overruns? I'm hearing conflicting reports. I wonder if you can give me some clarity on the end of the day. What did it cost to straighten out PeopleSoft? Were we $1 million over? 10 million, 20 million? I don't know. But I'll do a records request for that. Unless you know you can answer that tonight, I'd appreciate it.
Mrs. Sable, I'll come back to you. And Mrs. Sabo, before you start, I said this to you after the last meeting, but I want to say it to you publicly as well. I apologize for the exchange that we had and my role in that exchange, and I appreciate you coming back tonight. Thank you.
Dina Sabo. 7 months ago, decisions were based on conjecture, predictions, and fear of the unknown. Today we have data, statistics, and a documented recovery rate of 99% or better. In Manatee County today, the infection rate is 0.02% according to the community dashboard, far below the 1% that was referenced to last week during the meeting in order for you to consider removing the mask mandate. Furthermore, the district dashboard as of today puts us at a 0.001% infection rate. There is data, a significant amount of data available that each of you should be willing to review and consider if you are truly interested in the facts. However, when I see tweets from board members calling Harvard's Dr. Koldoff a fake doctor, I'm concerned. Surely you can understand why I'm here questioning your professional opinions, as it seems to me there is a personal bias being practiced and perhaps very unrealistic goals. A board member went on record last week stating his desire to maintain a, quote, perfect record regarding COVID. While that would be ideal, is it realistic to think that any of us can control or take responsibility for an airborne virus, meanwhile masking and socially isolating our children? Knowing anxiety, depression, and suicide have increased over 30% just this year. Have you, as the board, looked into excessive deaths, the long-term effects of masking children? I have over 25 studies that are not in favor of this long-term. So, are we making decisions based upon data or being reactive and emotional? I am concerned. First, because we have approximately 15,000 students displaced from the brick and mortar building because of this fear and mask mandate. That's 15,000 approximate students that are not receiving access to FAPE, free adequate public education. Second, on November 10th, the mask mandate will expire. Last week, the board had Mr. Chapman on record advising them as to how they can write in a new policy giving the board the option to extend the mask mandate and then the latitude at any time to further enact such measures. Why are we not making this public? Why wasn't there a survey asking the people that voted you into office if we want you to have this extension of power? Meanwhile, renowned Dr. Douglas G. Frank, PhD in surface analytical chemistry, with over 50 scientific publications, shared just last week that out of 1,000 public schools polled, including 506,000 students, there were 307 confirmed cases, which is a 0.06% infection rate collectively. And on September 11th, the CDC released a 7-page study titled Community and Close Contact Exposures. They polled 70.6 of the sick people out of 11 healthcare institutes in July, reported saying 70.6 of them always wore a mask. 3.9% of them reported never wearing a mask. I'm encouraging all of you to look for the data and make decisions to lead this community out of fear and into a place of optimism. Thank you.
Mrs. Mendel, I did not see her here tonight. Bridget Mendel, are you? Well, if she's out in the hallway, we'll come back to her. Mr. Jones?
Greetings. I don't know, it's a sad day. I mean, the propaganda that Mr. Chapman just gave is so just disgustingly inappropriate about all the efforts for diversity and inclusion in the district.
Jones, please not about employees.
it's not about employees. It's about the posture of this district and the character of this board. So, yeah, okay, I will. And to allow Ms. Saunders to still have a job here in Manatee County is disgraceful. We're currently involved in one of the largest due process scandals in the state of Florida, where we've already taken 10 students, random sampling of 10 students in front of a judge, and the parents and the students have won every single case for failed due process, failure civil rights. And you guys sit up here and pretend like you have yourselves together, and you don't. This thing is falling off. And you, James, you know, you sit up here and call yourself a reverend. Reverends don't do the things that you do. They don't go around the community and slander people's name and lie in front of a group of pastors. And not once have you combated that, because you can't, because the next time I'll bring some of those pastors in here and tell what you've done in the community. You're a sham and you're a fake, you're a false prophet.
You were not at the meeting that you keep
Golden.
coming in here talking about.
Excuse me.
Reverend Golden.
It's
No,
my first
you
amendment.
was not at the meeting. Not at the meeting.
Yes, I will.
You stood here and lied about that
Would you
for
stop
a year.
the clock, please?
No, because you're lying on me, and I'm through with that. You were not at the meeting that you stand in here and try to convince everybody
So
that you
I need
know more about me than I know more about me.
Please. He's violating my First Amendment freedom of speech.
Reverend Golden, please let him finish. You will have your time later.
That's fine. I don't have anything else to say. I'm just tired of being lied about and sitting here silently as if what he's saying is true.
You're a coward, Reverend Golden.
Brother,
You're a coward.
you don't want to go there with me.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. You're a coward.
I have no win with you.
Would you?
You're a blind, diabetic man
Listen to
who's 20 years younger than me. There's no win in this.
Mr. Jones,
For me.
address the board and not Reverend Golden.
Well, could I get
He
my
can't
time
help
back? Can I get my time back?
He can't help it.
I need to get my time back.
They stopped the clock for you.
Yeah, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, brother. You ain't even no brother. You know, so what I'm telling you is this board has been a sham. Would you ask Mitchell Teitelbaum how on July 23rd you allowed yourself to vote on an ordinance that was 45? What?
Please address the board, not district.
We have civility policy.
Mitch, please, we got it. Please address
I mean,
the board.
it's a sham. You know, it's a sham. And Reverend Golden, that's just your guilty conscience doing what it does. You sat here and just, there's a whole room for church full of pastors that were in there, and you're going to come up here and say that I'm lying. So next time I'll be down here with some of the ones that heard you do what you did, and then you tell them that they're lying too.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I'm going to hold you to it.
I bet you can't do it.
I bet you I can.
I bet you can.
I'll
be right here
Yeah.
waiting for you to do that.
Yeah.
Walk in that door with anybody that's going to stand here and tell me that I lied.
You are a liar. I'll tell you to your face if you need me to outside.
Man, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I do.
Please let him finish his public comment.
And the only reason I did that, people at home, was jumped on him like that, for you to see his true character. He's not the person that he presents himself to be. He's never has been. He's a sellout to his own people. He always has been. And I just wanted to show your true character to the people. Thank you very much, sir.
That's it.
I think that was enough. Okay. Reverend Golden, since it's very clear that you wanted to respond, I will give you the opportunity now to respond, but I do believe he has the right to come up here and speak as well. Is there something you'd like to add?
Yes, I would. 3 things. Do not mistake my silence for agreement. That's not my role here. I'm trying to serve as a board member. The fact that I'm called a coward, or the fact that I'm called a sellout, or the fact that I'm called any of the names that this brother thinks he can call me, any name, my record speaks for itself. I sit next to the man that he ran against and lost to serve on this same board. I'm the chairman of the board of an organization that he was fired from because he failed to do his job. And I live in a community that he cannot point to one thing that he has done that has made a difference. He was president of the NAACP. He ain't even that no more. And I'm just done with that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that No, I don't want to engage you in any kind of physical confrontation. What is the win in that for me? Like you've pointed out so frequently, I'm a minister. What do I look like? And there you're standing there, every time you come up here, you want to tell people you're legally blind. Where's the win in that for me?
I didn't say that.
What does that do for me?
The audience will remain quiet.
He can't help it.
I asked him to be quiet for you.
He can't help it. And the third thing is that the third thing is that we sit here and give this night, this opportunity, our best. But it does not mean that we are required to take the worst that people have to offer. I don't think it's necessary for us to have a business meeting and to be called liars and to be called frauds and to be called all of these other negative names. And I guess the reality of the maturity of what you would expect in a public meeting is just not going to happen. And it's okay. And it's okay.
Mr. Jones, this is your final warning. I allowed you to speak, and I'm giving him the opportunity. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I asked him to be quiet for you. I'm asking you to be quiet for him. If you cannot do that, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I don't want that. So please let him finish, just like I asked him to let you finish.
I apologize.
Thank you.
To you. And get it right, bro.
No, Mr. Jones.
I just want him to give accurate information. If he's going to give it.
And the last thing that I would like to say is that as long as I am able to serve on this board, I will not be intimidated. I will not be afraid. I will not be ashamed of telling the truth. The art that this man has against me goes back to, quite honestly, when he called me a sellout when we were trying to name that school in Parish. That's where it goes back to. I've never had any dealings with him.
It goes way deeper than that, man. You always been a sellout to black people, man. You sat up there and
Mr.
talked about all
Jones?
that. You sat up there and asked all those questions.
Mr.
about
Jones.
women, but you never answered those questions about those black kids.
Mr. Jones.
Fucking sellout. Sellout, boy. I'm ready to pass it back next time too and shame you.
Mr. Jones, thank you.
Coward ass liar.
When is our next meeting?
The 27th.
I want the record to reflect that there will be those who are supposed to be coming in support of Rodney Jones.
I don't.
That's what he said. Then we'll see who's lying.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to move
I'm
forward.
done. And I'm not going to apologize for being passionate about this. And I'm just not going to do it anymore. I've got granddaughters that watch me, and I can't have me being ashamed in front of my granddaughters. They think I'm afraid of this man. And I'm not going to have that. I fear no man. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, I'll move forward to workshop item requests. Got none. Okay, I'm just going to remind everybody on the 22nd, we do have a workshop and a shade meeting, and the workshop, I believe, is a discussion about millage. So that will be there. I'll move it forward to the legal update. Mr. Pratt, do you have anything for us?
No, I do not.
Operations update, Mr. Wagner.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have just a few items. First of all, we had our, last week we had our virtual job fair. We had about 100 people sign up and 70 participate. We ended up hiring, we think, between about 15 to 20 individuals from that. However, we still have vacancies open. I just want to bring those to light. So we have some custodial vacancies. We're looking for 3 8-hours and 4 4-hours and 1 head custodial. And we're also looking, most importantly as well tonight, for our transportation department. So we have 25 bus attendants and 22 bus drivers open. So if you know of people who are looking for
positions in the school system. We have some great ones with the transportation department. So we still are focusing on 155 bus routes that we're trying to keep going, but we really need some individuals. So help us get the word out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you. I do want to make a clarifying statement. I know we had a workshop last Thursday, and after many conversations with the board members, with teachers, with Ms. Barber, with MEA, I believe we have come to a conclusion of how we can move forward, specifically with the second quarter changes for our secondary schools. It had already been determined when the elementary changes were going to take place, so we really needed some clarifying information tonight for our middle and high schools. So parents, they will be able to change modalities. We have a survey out, and tomorrow is the deadline for that request. It was submitted last Thursday. Well, actually, it went out to parents on Friday. So many have already responded. If they still have not, we ask that they do contact their school with that response. If they do not send in any type of change, it defaults to what they currently are in. So some parents, and it's specified that on the form. So if we do not hear from them, we are assuming they do not want to change their modality. Please understand that this process may take a few weeks. We're gathering all the changes. I do want parents to know that we have now 80% of elementary students wanting to be back for brick and mortar. We're at 65% for middle school and a little under 50% for high school. So that is where the majority of people have wanted to make their change. So it is going to take just a little bit of time. So we caution some patience to make sure that we have the bus routes recalibrated so that those that need transportation, we've got their routes corrected. So we do have a deadline that in the first week or two of November, all of these changes will be made. And we say that that is the outset. If schools can get it done quicker or get student schedules done much quicker than that, they will, and they will notify those individual families. Remember, we have to adjust the teacher's duty day as well, because if teachers were teaching e-learning and we're bringing back more students into the building, we of course have to bring teachers back into the building to accommodate so that we do not have overcrowded classes. We want to make sure that we have everything balanced. In addition to that, I do want to caution and remind parents that they may have a different teacher. If you're e-learning, it doesn't necessarily mean if you have a schedule change that you will have that same teacher, because that teacher may continue teaching e-learning. One of the comments that we made last week was the question about hybrid. What I would like to state is that if schools have enough students that are requesting hybrid and they can schedule it, it will be available. So it will have to be done on an individual school situation. If there's not enough students to schedule hybrid, then it will not be offered. One of the things we are making sure that when we go through this process, teachers will not be expected to be teaching multiple modalities within the same period. That was some of the concerns that we've heard from MEA as well as teachers. So we are hoping that in this process, we can lighten their load so that this will not continue. Again, the beginning of the year, I think the principals and the schools did the very best they could to accommodate all students in all situations, and teachers were willing to do whatever they could, but after a quarter, I think many have realized it's a lot to be expecting them to teach many different methods simultaneously. So we do want to lighten their loads as well as accommodate what the parents need for their children. One thing that is interesting is that the high schools are at now about 30% e-learning. So that is a classification that went up just a little bit. So again, those schedules will be changed, and most likely those students will have a different teacher. If you had a brick and mortar teacher at the first part of the year and you go to e-learning, of course you're going to have a different teacher to accommodate those schedules. What we have seen is the biggest reduction was for the hybrid request. I think in many cases, once they've had some experience, they were able to determine if they want full-time or not. Again, if schools are able to accommodate that because they have enough students, they certainly will, but that's going to be on an individual school situation. The other thing that I wanted to let parents know is that at the end of the third quarter and the end of the fourth quarter, we probably are not going to be doing a district-wide survey. That will happen at the end of third and end of fourth. If any parent wants to change their modality, they will be working with their individual school principal and guidance counselor. If they're able to accommodate those changes in a span of time, they certainly will. But you probably, unless something happens between now and then, that there's a reason that there's a district-wide survey to get opinion and ask for who wants to change. It's going to be site-based for the third and fourth quarter, because there could very well be some students that may need to go back to e-learning or choose to go to e-learning, or could be that after a half a year or a semester, students may want to come into the building at that time, and they will be given that opportunity. It's just going to be held at the school level and not the district level. So I did want to make that one point. I do want to caution and tell parents that we appreciate their patience. I know it's been a very unusual year. What this shows me is that they have faith in our school district and in our school system. They feel that they're safe and that our teachers are doing an amazing job, and they feel comfortable bringing them back into the building. And that's a great thing. We're going to be as quick as possible to get these changes made, but it will take a few weeks, specifically for a high school, to get these schedules done and everything leveled out. But the schools will be communicating with them on that timeline and when they can expect to have their bus routes done and their schedules completed, so that they're able to transition for the rest of the school year. So those are my comments for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Reverend Golden.
I've already said enough.
Okay.
I think I've said enough.
Nothing further to add?
Nothing further to add.
Mr. Minor.
Madam Chair, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for conducting this meeting for us, and I think what we heard from the superintendent reflects an enormous amount of work by her and her staff, to keep this going forward, and we are going forward, and I'm very proud of this school district. Academically and financially, we have so much to be grateful for in the staff that we have, and particularly in our having our superintendent, and I'm proud to be a member of this board. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and Dr. Hopes left me a note. I assume he wants me to read it. I'm going to read it. He had to leave. Dr. Hopes is preparing for his third surgery in 12 weeks and is experiencing significant pain, and that was what he wrote, and so I just wanted to read that. I think he just felt like he needed to leave. And I'll move on to Vice Chair Kennedy.
Thank you. Gina, I have very few comments, but I do, if you don't mind me doing it in this way, I just have a couple questions about the plan going forward, if I could just do them now real quick. And Superintendent Saunders, I just have a couple of clarifying questions, if you don't mind. So you said at elementary we have 80, middle school we have 65, and high school we have 50. And that's
a little below 50%.
But that's as of today with
as of today.
Survey results that have come in as of today?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have a question for you about hybrid. As you know from where we met Thursday, I'm a little nervous about the number of kids coming back on campus, but what, just roughly, I mean, granted, our high schools are of different sizes, but if you take our average high school, let's say 2,000 kids, how many students do you think it would take to sustain a hybrid program on that campus?
The issue is of the same type of course. So I can give you, for example, right now, Southeast High School had 375 students request hybrid, which is a large number. The issue is, are they requesting the same classes? So out of 9th through 12th grade, it is going to depend on how many are requesting what. Now remember, I can do it by teacher by a period. So a teacher does not have to teach the whole day in hybrid. They could have 1 period or 2 periods. So that one has quite a few. You know, a regular class is 25 students. So chances are there are some that very well could accommodate some of that. It could be that some of these students could be for hybrid and e-learning or something. I mean, they could have a combo type class situation. But I will give you another example. In elementary, I don't have one elementary with enough students that generates 1 class.
Yeah, and my question is really about
Yeah.
secondary.
So really, it would be a secondary. I'll give you another example. Johnson Middle School, the middle school part, they have 147 requests. So they will be looking at these, and where they can accommodate it, they certainly will.
Okay.
And if they can't, they will be calling those parents and then giving them other opportunities or options.
Yeah, and I know this is your purview completely. I'm just
No,
this is
no,
just a
sure.
question out of curiosity. Is it possible to say to that student, you know, okay, if you're going to be in hybrid, you don't have the full menu of courses, but if you're going to be a hybrid student, you've got a kind of condensed list.
That is going to be more of a realistic way to approach it than them having the menu of every course available.
Okay, good. I have one more for you too. Sorry. Oh, the case by case basis. There's been so much interest in this. I just wanted to highlight it real quick, and I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. That essentially, once we get these survey results, the secondary schools will be basically doing a new master schedule. But going forward for the rest of the school year, it will be a case by case basis.
We will give a timeline in the 3rd and the 4th quarter, a window where if parents do want a change, they will be able to contact their counselor or their school principal, and they will work on accommodating those. Absolutely. We do not anticipate there's going to be massive requests for a lot of shifts. I think this is going to be the biggest one, but there could be some isolated students along the way, or a few students at the end of the 3rd that may want to come back into the building in some capacity, or go to e-learning as well. So yes, we will work to accommodate those as well.
Okay.
And we really want to make sure we're not overloading teachers' classrooms as well.
Okay. Yeah, and just the ones that have come across my email or experience has mostly been like a parent job change situation, which necessitates the modality change.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, thank you for that
It doesn't
update.
even have to be at the quarter. If there's a situation that happens mid-year and it's definitely a hardship and the principal can work them in, we've been doing that all through the year as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've always believed that teachers are very flexible and admins are very flexible people, but this year has brought a brand new level of flexibility required. So I appreciate that update. And I just want to thank our teachers and staff and everybody who's been, just getting through you pick your adjective, whatever you want to call the school year. There's so many to pick from. Real quick, retirement shout outs for Gina Croton. I know Gina's still here through 2020, but Gina's up on the 5th floor, and Mike McCann in Student Services. Mike, he's an insufferable New England Patriots fan, but I still enjoy time spent with Mike. So hopefully next time we'll do it in retirement, but congratulations to those two on a very long career with the district. So that's it. Thanks, Gina.
Reverend Golden, what's your middle name? I just want to know next time I have to beg the gavel, I'm going to call you by your whole name. So what's your middle name?
Theopolis.
Theopolis. I'm writing that down. I know it was a T. Next time I beg my gavel, I'm going to say the whole name. So I say it's.
I thought it was Thelonious.
Oh my goodness, my sister's calling me.
All right.
This is really bad.
Other than, you know what? I don't have anything nice to say. I'll just stop. Anyways, I will say I appreciate the superintendent and the work that you have done. I truly appreciate that. And really to echo what Mr. Kennedy has said, I truly appreciate the teachers and the amount that's been put on them. And I think so many of them have taken in stride. And I think that's what teachers do. You know, I think you keep doing it because that's what you do. And
Whoever shows up in your classroom.
that's what you get. And you make it happen. And the problem with that is then they eventually will hit their breaking point. And I'm doing everything I can. I think we should all be doing everything we can so they don't get there. I'm afraid some of them are already there. I think a lot of them are already there. I don't, whatever we can do to take off their plate, whatever we can do to ease their load, I really want to do it. I think the superintendent really wants to do it. I think the union really wants to do that. And so I think we're all on the same page there, the best way to move forward. So I truly appreciate that. And I guess with that, it is 7:26. If there's no further discussion, if there's no other, all right. At 7:27, and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.